Is art worth it when the world seems to be falling apart? Have you ever wondered what is the meaning of art today when all of the systems seem to be in question? When almost every day, whether it be AI, societal structure, a cultural question, a question of faith, a question of whether we as a humanity will survive. For me, as a mother of 2 children, I think about what is the world going to look like for them. It is a question that has been on my mind a lot, but especially recently, in the last 2-3 years, where I think we're seeing the fraying of the systems. And it seems so that the technology is accelerating that change at a rate that we, on a mental scale, have a really hard time grasping. When I look back at history of other artists creating in a specific timescape, the darkness of times brought the most honest work. And when society is going through a real restructuring, that is the opportunity for the artists to really show up in an honest way. Because to me, darkness is, I always think of it as the womb. If you are an active artist, and by artist I mean any field, I genuinely believe we are all born to be creative and to problem solve in any scenario. Doesn't matter what medium. This is something that I think innate to the human experience is our ability to create. Oftentimes in the darkness of times when everything isn't questioned, that is the moment of the womb. And the darkness of the womb is where life is birthed, where ideas are born. And especially with AI, and I've talked about this in my videos before about that I genuinely believe that we are living through a second renaissance brought on by technology. I see it in many fields, but I will talk about the art field because it directly relates to my experience as an artist. I feel like we've only gotten the taste of how technology has changed our world. The idea of the World Wide Web, how many societal shifts it brought. I feel like the World Wide Web was just the taste of what AI is gonna bring. And that constantly brings me back to the question of why are we creating? What is the point of all this? And I constantly remind myself that fear and knowledge are very correlated. The less you know about something, the more you fear it, and vice versa. I always think of this when I watch horror movies or thriller movies. It's the somebody playing with the knob of a door to open is always scarier in your mind than actually opening the door and seeing what's there. The little branches on the window that they create with ambiance. That concept of not knowing, what is this banging on my window or scratching a little bit on my window, that unknowingness is what creates the fear. And I feel like we've been conditioned so much to fear, and all of our systems are built on so much fear and division that we are in this space of, oh my gosh, how is this going to affect me? How is this going to affect society? It's that suspension of not knowing and knowing that something's on the cusp. That is what creates this tension of fear, what I think collectively people are feeling right now. And I keep reminding myself to stop being a coward and go open the door and go peek behind the window and see what it's there. And in doing that, you're going to develop an ability to be disliked. And it keeps reminding me that the systems, the art systems, and I'll talk about art, but the art systems that are currently in play, they are established in previous generations. We are now at the cusp of creating something new. And it's the artist's job, in my opinion, to ask questions. And when we're asking questions from a place of observation. When we observe something and something doesn't align, we can say, why is this so? The reason why I really think that we're living through a second renaissance is that we have the tools, unlike ever before, to take that into our hands and develop the world that we want to see. And what it keeps reminding me is that you are already what you're trying to achieve. The goal of the art is not achievement of something, achievement of status, going into a certain museum or a gallery. The role of the art is to observe, ask questions, alchemize what you're observing into whatever materiality that you use, and return to humanity. That means honestly creating work instead of thinking of the outcome. I feel like true art is always about the process, not the outcome of how it's going to be. That is completely out of your control. What is in your control is to create from a place of honest exploration, whether it be material, whether it be with concepts, or whether it's with other structures. We as humanity, we are each other's medicine. And for us to be each other's medicine, we all need to be engaged instead of being fearful and divided and compartmentalized into these little spheres of, you're a millennial, you can't have an opinion. You're a Gen Z, what do you know? There is a lot of, or you're a Gen Xer, and that's just the compartmentalization of structures that make us feel divided. It's the concept of the othering. And when we have that, we don't talk to each other, we talk at each other, we compare, and that creates even deeper divisions. I feel like people start to heal the moment they feel heard. That to me, why art is so healing. If an artist creates from a place of honesty, from process-oriented and not the end result oriented, when you create something from an honest place and you put it out there, we need to be shared. I always think of why, when we're watching a sunset, why does it feel so much better when somebody is sharing it next to us than we're watching it alone? When we're experiencing a funny movie, why is it better when we're together and we're experiencing something? Or when you want to text your favorite person, or why we're sharing reels with one another. There's a sense of connectiveness when we are both enjoying something. And to me, that is what art does. And you can't control what the outcome of that process is. You can only be in the moment, in the process, creating it. That's it. That is your job. You're going to ask questions, and somebody else who is viewing that work or experiencing that work in some level, they will either feel understood, they are going to feel puzzled maybe that asks them a question that they in their sphere would want to solve. And it becomes this holistic approach of every person deeply engaged in creating the world that we want to see, the world we want to live in. When we're in fear, we are paralyzed. And I feel like a lot of systems want us in that fear because we are so much easier to control when we are making decisions from fear. My favorite reason about art is that there are no rules. And when we deconstruct our thinking from what the current art establishment, I'll speak to that, the current art establishment want us to play by the rules, then we are incapable of creating from a place of fear. I think being aware of our mortality and the short time that we are here on Earth forces us to create with more integrity. If more people would be aware of their mortality, we would act very differently. And this brings me to a place of when we are creating with honesty, oftentimes when we go post it or talk about it, we immediately have this comparison. And I just want to say that I know a lot of artists in my life, and no two art careers are on the same schedule. So that shouldn't even be factored in how you create the work. That is the business side of running a studio practice, which is very different than the act of process of creation. Everything you know of this world happens within you, and your life is of your own making. Have you noticed that in the same given situation, one person's experience is very different from another person's experience? And the nature of experience is entirely of your own making. So as this year unfolds, currently I am working on a new bodies of work for my next solo show exhibition, which is going to be in April. 3rd is the opening day. I'm committing to creating one video a week of documenting the process of working on the solo exhibition. And this is a way for me to challenge myself to be present, not create from perfection or how other people will perceive my work, but just document the act of creation and do little unrehearsed videos of what the whole process is like. Because I really believe in people and I believe in artists. And I do think with the current technology and the current tools that we have, unlike ever before, we are capable of creating the world we want to see. but we are not going to create that from a place of fear. So thank you so much. I haven't posted in about 3 months, and I'm really committing this year to posting 52 videos a year. I want to do one every week because I want to connect with other artists so we don't feel like we're alone in our studios working on something that we don't see any tangible results. Because oftentimes we don't see the ripple effect of what we're actually creating. And this is, in some small, tangible way, it's a way for us to connect. And please share what you're working on so we can support one another and actually be in our own agency and creating our own, not even careers, but our own art practices. Full-time, part-time. For me, it's full-time. I have 2 kids and I love this life. I have chosen this life and it's not always easy, but I would not have it any other way. So thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next week.